a sudden, tense halt to the missiles, a deepening diplomatic rift between key allies, and a rising, heartbreaking toll on civilians in a region teetering right on the brink. Welcome to Zenith Global News.
All right, let's take a look at tonight's top stories. First, the tense military pause between Israel and Iran. Then, we'll look at the widening Washington-Jerusalem divide. We also head over to the flashpoint at the Strait of Hormuz, cover the profound toll this is taking on civilians, and finally, wrap up with the broader regional instability that's sending shockwaves across the globe.
Story number 1, the tense military pause. Israel and Iran halt direct exchanges. So let's track how fast this escalated. It's like a rapid-fire cycle. Day 1, Iran launches its initial missile attacks. Day 2, Israel fires back with retaliatory strikes, pushing past international calls to de-escalate. By day 3, Iran fires back again, locking both nations in this truly terrifying action and reaction cycle. And that brings us to the present moment, a sudden but incredibly fragile halt to those direct military strikes. Now you have to understand, this pause is absolutely not a peace agreement. Both capitals are still issuing some very stern warnings. Prime Minister Netanyahu states the immediate threat is contained, but he's promising overwhelming force if Israel is attacked again. Meanwhile, over in Tehran, Iranian leaders are explicitly linking this calm to the battlefield in Lebanon, warning that if Israeli operations expand there, it's going to trigger renewed military action. Turning now to Washington for story number 2, the Washington-Jerusalem divide and the strategic rift growing between key allies. We're seeing strategies here diverge pretty sharply. On one hand, the U.S. strategy under President Trump is hyper-focused on de-escalation and keeping those vital economic corridors stable. In fact, Washington is warning that a major regional confrontation could actually lead to reduced American backing. On the flip side, the Israeli strategy is totally resolute. They're focused on maintaining intense military pressure on Hezbollah and Iran and continuing their operations in Lebanon, regardless of Washington's push to cool things down. And over in Tehran, leadership is actively working a dual-track approach. What does that mean? Well, they're maintaining high military readiness while simultaneously pursuing diplomatic engagement. They're being very deliberate with their message here. This temporary pause is not a sign of weakness, and it is definitely not a shift in their long-term posture. They're making it crystal clear that they remain fully prepared to resume operations if needed. Moving on to story number 3, Flashpoint Strait of Hormuz. Global energy and trade are currently under threat. You know, this economic threat is exactly why Washington is pushing so hard for de-escalation. The Strait of Hormuz is literally one of the world's most vital energy corridors. Global financial markets are watching this waterway with extreme anxiety right now, because if there's any disruption to commercial shipping here, it instantly creates global financial shockwaves. We're talking about impacts that you'll feel directly at the gas pump. And the anxiety isn't just theoretical, because the region is already dealing with some highly concerning peripheral incidents. For example, a U.S. Army Apache helicopter recently went down near the strait. Thankfully, both crew members were safely rescued. Around the same time, a commercial oil tanker actually caught fire near Oman. The Indian crew is reported safe, but honestly, these incidents really underscore the immense, real-world operational risks that are plaguing this crucial global trade route right now. We now shift our focus to the human toll for story number 4, the profound toll on civilians and the real human cost of this regional conflict. We really have to emphasize the devastating human cost of all this brinkmanship. Real lives are being disrupted in unimaginable ways. In Lebanon, the ongoing fighting is inflicting severe tragic casualties on everyday civilians and the emergency responders trying to save them. Over in Iran, severe airspace anxiety forced Tehran's main airport to completely suspend operations, grounding thousands of people, including families heading out on Hajj pilgrimages. And in Israel, acute security threats have forced widespread school closures, basically paralyzing daily civilian life. Which brings us to story number 5, broader regional instability and the peripheral shockwaves radiating out from this conflict. There is just an undeniable atmosphere of compounding instability gripping the entire broader region right now. Just recently, Israel had to intercept an aerial threat approaching all the way from Yemen. Meanwhile, in southern Iran, the geopolitical tension was literally compounded by a moderate earthquake striking the area. And internationally, governments are seriously raising the alarm. Pakistan, for instance, is actively urging an immediate return to diplomacy before this entire region spirals completely out of control. Because the reality is, the fundamental disputes that triggered this entire confrontation, especially in Lebanon, remain entirely unresolved. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. Is this a lasting peace, or just a tense pause before the storm reignites? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Stay informed, stay aware, stay ahead. Only on Zenith Global News.